I mean, I feel like my channel's for a different audience anyway. So
Yeah, I was gonna say you do more openings and
yeah,
opening up products. So
yeah, that's actually more to keep me engaged with the hobby as opposed to, it's like I like the investing side, but like I kind of like to just do that like as recreation. But
yeah,
to understand the Pokemon hobby, I do the openings on the channel, so I'm forced to open it to see the experience of it.
yeah. So all right, everybody. Well, today we have DigiSmithy TCG on the line. I know a lot of people have seen him in the comments and seen him in the chats of most of the lives that we've been doing. So I figured I'd bring him on online because he has some really good thoughts and viewpoints when it comes to the Pokemon TCG, whether it's marketing, investing, or just opening product in general. He has a really good broad experience, and I thought that this would be, asked him come on, and he accepted, and I thought it'd be really cool just to sit down and have a chat and bring his wisdom onto the channel. So if you'd like to do a quick introduction of yourself.
Sure, I'll just say what I always say in all my videos. What up, Poke people? It's me, DigiSmithyTCG, but you can always call me Digi. So you don't have to call me DigiSmithyTCG. If you call me Digi, I'm fine. I'll respond just as much. But yeah, I'm glad to be here. I love watching your videos, Andy, and I'm great. It feels good to have a chat with you, like one on one.
Absolutely. Like I said, I really do enjoy your comments in my videos because, sometimes you bring in comments or things that I would have liked to put in a video, but if as you learn in YouTube, you really have a time limit on where people will actually listen to you. You
Mm-hmm.
have a time limit of how much, where you want to try and keep that ratio good for the algorithm. And a lot of times you're making that decision that, hey, I need to try and back this down and put it down. And then someone like yourself comes on and really adds to that
Yeah,
experience to really make it more. And, you know, I always say YouTube is a love hate relationship. A lot of times it's nice to have the community and be able to talk and have these good conversations on things. But on the other hand, it really does suck sometimes for what you can do and what you can push
yeah,
and how much you can put out for content before you start getting pushback from the algorithm or the actual platform itself. So,
exactly.
yeah, so like I said, it's just nice having people in the comments like yourself that really do push it a little bit further ahead. So, um, in general, what do you get? What are your thoughts right now on what's happening in the Pokemon TCG? I mean, with the performance of it, how well it's holding together, the tournament play, just in general, what are your feelings right now with it?
Okay, so I mean, if we're talking about like all the pillars of Pokemon in general, I think obviously Astral Radiance is a very debated set. And I think even you and I have disagreements on it right now. But in general, I think even if people are vocally saying they don't like it, that just means there are eyes on the hobby still. And I still think that's a plus. Um, so I mean, I take it to me, I always see it as opportunity for because like me, I have more enjoyment investing in raw cards, not just in Pokemon, but other hobbies as well. But I think Pokemon is in a great place. I mean, we know tomorrow that Scarlet and Violet previews for the video game are coming. So there's just a lot of eyes on that. Obviously, Pokemon Go is obviously everybody just kind of read enough Astral Radiance for Pokemon Go, which is cool with me because I was actually a champion of it when people were like, "Oh, Pokemon Go is not great," but I'm a Pokemon Go player. Like that's what really brought me back in 2016. That and playing X and Y. So, as far as Pokemon as a hobby, I feel like yeah, it's not the boom, but I don't think it'll hit a floor where it was probably like a little before the black and white era. So it's kind of like, that step ladder effect where it hit a high, but it won't get to that low again. And I think, um, I mean, from what I'm seeing with Pokemon in general, is I think they're really catering to collectors now, especially during the pandemic, because they saw that that's probably where the money maker is. And now that it's instead of collecting being the icing on the cake, the cake is now the collector side, and then the playability side is going to be the icing. That's where I kind of think they're headed, which is why if you look at the Japanese sets, things are kind of more as a, like on this side, I guess we would call it F, the F marked sets. They seem more templated moving forward, like with the, like they're not gonna have like how many alternate arts that Evolving Skies had. It had like 16 or something like that. I think that's way too much. So they kind of, I think they hit a good ratio by having like this 4 or 6 rate. So I think they finally figured out a template. Obviously things can change because the video game side really controls everything. Like like people like to associate the card game with the anime, which I think is pretty successful because it's on Netflix and I do watch it. But really the video game drives everything. And I think everybody excited for Scarlet and Violet is going to trickle down to the card game. And so I think as long as all the parts of Pokemon are great, then the Pokemon TCG can only thrive off that, right?
Yeah. And my feeling is right now that Pokemon is in a good place because even currently, just going through today, I was just searching through like the Facebook pages. I always kind of skim through like Pokemon World and all the Pokemon sites just to check out what people are doing and their feelings of things and what they're looking at. Because a lot of times for me, it's information for maybe where I should be looking for things or what could be the next collectible thing. What are these people interested in and what's going on? And, you know, I am seeing a lot of people still today coming in going, I just purchased this. This is the first time I've been back in Pokemon in 10, 12 years. Wish me luck. This is exciting to actually get back into the hobby again. So even after everything that's happened, all this boom and bust of things, you know, we're seeing people still come in and they're asking legitimate questions about cards. These aren't people that are just trolling. These are people that are actually, you could tell, they're asking legitimate questions like, is this card of any value? You know, how do I determine that these cards are of value? You know, they'll show a reverse and they'll show which one of these is actually worth keeping or, you know, which is just bulk. And we're getting these questions that are actually really healthy, in my opinion, for the market. We're seeing some really good things because of that, and it's continuing to make this thrive. We want to see, after this boom, not everybody leave, not everybody disappear, but to see this interchanging of people coming in with the people that are going out. And that's actually a healthy market. You get new eyes in it. You get people that leave just because of whatever reasonings. So in general, I think that Pokemon is in a good place. And realistically, at this point, the only thing that could really screw it up, in my opinion, is Pokemon themselves. You know, them really, like you said, putting way too much into a set. You know, making it just overwhelming or not putting enough into a set. They could also go the other way where they could really damage it. And, you know, like you said, we had the disagreement with Astral Radiance, and it wasn't a big disagreement. It was just,
it wasn't
a
big disagreement.
My theory is, my point is that there just really isn't much in that set for myself. You know, you sit there and look at a set that you would really want to generate into, and Astral Radiance just isn't it. And to be honest with you, I kind of feel the same way about Pokemon Go. The only thing that's really pushing me into that set more and more is because I'm a huge Mewtwo fan.
Yeah.
And it's dragging me in just because of that fact. But that's just my own bias pulling me in versus my mental thought process going, hey, there's still quite a few red flags on this that I want to see ironed out before I'm willing to make the call that Pokemon Go is going to be a great holiday set.
Yeah. Oh, exactly. I mean, let me add to that. So what really surprised me was, so obviously we had Memorial Day, so probably we were hanging with family and friends and stuff. So what really surprised me is, so us, we're entrenched in the hobby, and mentally we've already gauged that Brilliant Stars is better than Astral Radiance, right? Because we're thinking it as like a collector, we're thinking as an investor, right? But then when I was having, so me and my family, we have booster box opening parties and whatnot, right? So we get together when the set comes. And I was shocked when they told me they enjoyed Astral Radiance more than Brilliant Stars because so like I said, we came back in Pokemon Go. So these Pokemon Go players, they actually don't know the Sword and Shield Pokemon, and that really never clicked to me. So seeing like, so they were like, oh, this Growlithe is cool because, like, Growlithe because of Gen 1. They like Mantine because there was in Water Day Festival, you can catch Mantines in Pokemon Go. So I was like, oh yeah. So it's like the experience is different for everybody. Obviously, with Legends Arceus coming out, so we got the whole Nintendo Switch kids that later on I feel it's gonna feed into the TCG. But it's like it never really occurred to me as somebody who's fully entrenched not only in the TCG but in Pokemon in general, that like, oh yeah, people don't know Sword and Shield yet because that's Generation 9. And Pokemon Go just added Pokemon a generation, oh not Generation 9. They added Alola like a month ago. So it's just like, oh yeah, I forgot they're still behind in a general sense. So they don't actually recognize. I mean, there's of course you're gonna know Charizard, you're gonna know Arceus, but like they're like, what is this? Like, I guess Millennium doesn't count. But obviously, like, they're like some of these Pokemon are weird, but the name I guess the name of the Pokemon matters in a sec. Because like I guess I asked this to Pokemart this morning, and I guess I'll ask you the same question: is what do you think is more important, the card name or the card art?
A lot of times it is the name.
Exactly.
It's a it's probably it's probably a 60-40, I would say. I think
but that's because we look at it as collectors, right?
We
and
do.
Investors.
Yep.
Yeah. And I think that's really the difference into like the V versus V Max, because that's appended to the name, right? So to me, I actually like more the V alternate arts than the V Max counterparts, almost all of them. But this is where like the name for sure, trumps everything, right? Like I could care less for Mew V Max alt art. Sorry guys. But I really love the Mew V alt art. But there is a price discrepancy. But I do think at some point it will overtake it, especially once it rotates out.
Yeah. And the other part is that you got to remember too, while it's in rotation, people are building decks. So of course that Mew VMAX is going to draw a little bit more premium than the Mew V because of the playability factor of a Mew deck. That's what they want. So of course it's drawing a little bit of a premium on that part of it. But I agree. I absolutely love the V alternate arts a lot more. And that's where I've been putting out the question. And I'm kind of curious to know multiple people, if you think about this. In the last two sets, they have not done a VMAX alternate art at all. Brilliant Stars, Astro Radiance, there are no alternate art VMAXs. Do you think, in your opinion, I'm going to ask you, do you think that they are going to start eliminating full arts and replace them with alternate arts in sets? To me, like I could see that. I think get rid of full arts. Go right to alternate arts inside of the sets. Because honestly, who's chasing full arts right now? Players aren't chasing them. We're not chasing them. They're becoming obsolete because the alternate art version is what everybody wants.
Yeah.
So are they going to phase it out?
Okay, so I'll speak to the first part of the question is the VMAXs, right? The VMAX all arts. Like to me, I'm for sure they're not doing that. Well, one is because Machamp was the last Gigantamax Pokemon that didn't have a card. So that's why they had to print VMAXs. If not, I think they would have probably, well, I guess Melmetal, but that's in Pokemon Go. So they were probably going to stop it. Also, it's for Dynamax and Gigantamax mechanic from the video game, which won't be in Scarlet and Violet. So you can't do that. So then I remember talking to somebody like, why then how come you don't do a alternate art of, say, Charizard V-Star, right? And when I thought about it, I was like, but there's no variation actually to an alternate Charizard. Like the reason why you can do an alternate art for, like, say, Umbreon and Umbreon VMAX, because Umbreon VMAX, the art has to depict that, it grew to Godzilla, basically, right? But V-Star is just a TCG specific mechanic. So it's like, if they you can't really do an alternate art because the Charizard technically wouldn't look different. Also, I think it's with the card frame because it has to have the V-Star ability, and that takes up real estate, right?
Yeah.
So there's no reason to commission an artist. I also think it's because in Scarlet and Violet, there's probably not I guess, a quote unquote tier evolution of it. So like there's no mega and then there's no Dynamax. So it's like to set expectations. They kept the alt arts to um just I guess the super Pokemon rule box Pokemon, that's what they're called, to the baseline rule box Pokemon. And then they introduced the trainer gallery for back so that there's more alt arts for I call them the baby Pokemon, right? Because it's the baby box art, which I feel like they gave more love to because the Astral Radiance art is pretty like it's really good. I'm like that Mantine, like I wish it was hollow. I don't know why they would make a Mantine hollow, but I wish that card was hollow. But yeah, the second part of the question was dropping full arts. I don't think so. I mean, they like I mean, like, you know, as much as we like to complain about Pokemon doing this, Pokemon doing that, I mean, they're not stupid. Like they've done this for what 26 years now. like like as much as the customers complains, they've known how to grow an audience base and they've known how to cater to the audience they already have. And you know, and I'm sure they planned it because like they didn't have to do EV heroes. Like that has nothing to do with Galar, right? like you just find them randomly in the open world, but they have no lore bearing in it. But they're like, okay, the collectors need a set. We released Rebel Clash, Vivid Voltage only had a Rainbow Pikachu. Yeah, what could we make alt arts of? Let's make it with the EVs. Like to me, that's a set that was top down designed, or like we need EVs in Sword and Shield and let's go. Because when they design sets, they don't, because you know the art is art, right? Whatever text they put doesn't matter. They're like, oh, that's a Thunder Stage 1 Pokemon. Oh, let's just make that Toxtricity then, right? Like I don't think they go and be like, you need this Pokemon, you need this Pokemon, you need this Pokemon, and then design the card for that specifically. It's like they already have these card templates and they're like, oh, okay, to balance it out, we'll use this template, this template, this template, and then backfill it with art after. Because, you know, it takes 2 to 3 years to design a set, right? So that means they've already planned out Scarlet and Violet, whatever the mechanic was, but they don't have to put the art in yet, right? Because they probably don't even know all the Pokemon there. They have to wait till what's his name, Sugimori, to actually design all of them first. So they're like, well, we'll design the card game, and then we'll put the art later, right?
Yeah, I mean, and that's what we typically see is that even if you come into Sword and Shield and Sun and Moon, a lot of times, of course, the game dynamic comes out, and then you get the updates of the game where they start adding new Pokemon into the game, and of course that starts to morph into the TCG, where yes, it's in the game now, so somehow we've got to get that into the TCG dynamic, and you know, perfect example of it is Zarude. I mean, realistically, for collectability, for set play, for tournament play, for any purposes, Zarude doesn't have a purpose. But
yeah,
he came into the game as a play, you know, as a player in the game and in the anime series. So of course they had to somehow encompass them into the TCG, and we do see that quite a bit in Pokemon. As a lot of times, the anime will sometimes create a character for a storyline, and then that gets put into the game next, because on the next update of the game, everybody wants that character in the game, and then because it's in the game, now it has to translate to the TCG, and it's all got to be congruent at some point, so everything's all involved, and then eventually they work their way back into Pokemon Go as kind of the final step for all of these Pokemon through the assembly line. But yeah, it's just, to me, you know, at some point you have to wonder if Pokemon is going to cut back on something. You know, whether it's rainbow rares, whether it's gold cards, whether it's, you know, just standard full arts.
Yeah.
You know, how many more things can you continue to add to these sets that, you know, and like you said, I know they seem to be catering more and more. Each set caters more and more to collectors in collectability. More it's like they're splitting it like 50-50 now. Before it was always 80% tournament play, 20% collectors. And now there seem to be really, like you said, they realize the moneymaker and what's going to grow the Pokemon the most is getting collectors involved and getting them wanting the product. And, but, at some point you guys sit there and even look at the latest sets. And this is where I just my brain kind of goes back and forth on this. Full arts right now, out of Brilliant Stars, the most expensive one is Charizard, of course, but the second one below it is running for $3.50.
Yeah.
You even go down to Astral Radiance right now, the most expensive full art in Pokemon, not a trainer, but a full art Pokemon, runs you about $6.80. So they aren't holding any value even to collectors. And players are kicking them out for alternate arts.
Yeah.
I
think if I were to do full arts, because where I like the full arts right now is obviously the trainer. So I would say in sets, keep full arts to just trainers.
Yes.
But where I did like the full arts were in the Lucario V-Star Premium Collection and the Cleaver V-Star Collection. Like, I feel like that's probably a nice card type to keep in like the box sets, right? So like if you really want something, because I mean, let's be real, they're probably not that hard to draw in comparison to an all art, right? So like if they really wanted to like promote Cleaver because it's like an evolution of Scyther in a game that maybe not everybody would know, but if they feel it's nice to carry its own product, then that would make the product itself worth more. So like to me, it's like I would never buy a Cleaver V-Star box, but because it's the only way to get the full art card because it's not a Natural Radiance, then it becomes something that is of more interest to me. So I feel like if they take away the full arts in the regular sets and maybe keep it as promos, I feel like that's a better place for that style of card. Although I really do like the Astral Radiance Jirachi. I think that's like one of my favorite ones. But yeah, I feel like I think right now we're in an overcorrection of where they want to cater to collectors, because with Astral Radiance, like as much as I do like the set, I feel like there's way too many secret rares and there's way too many full art trainers. Like as somebody who collects the full art trainers, what is there, like 12 in the set? That's the most in
I was thinking 13 or
13. Yeah, it's just way too many.
Yeah.
And I don't understand having trainer cards in the trainer gallery. I wish it just kept it as characters.
Yeah. And see, I just pulled, that's where I was confused the other day, because I pulled, I'm trying to look here because I got my Alistair.
Yeah.
So I pulled an Alistair card the other day out of Astral Radiance. I was like, oh, sweet, a trainer. I was like, I didn't even realize it was in one of the trainers in here. And then I looked at it and I'm like, oh, it's a trainer gallery. Well, what's the purpose of putting an Alistair in the trainer gallery when it looks just like your regular trainers in the set?
Especially when it's a reprint. It's just a change of art, right? So Alistair was, I forgot what set already.
But here's the one thing that I found about the trainer gallery though. So far, and I was looking at a bunch of them here, and all the ones that I have out either expire in D or E.
Yeah, because
they're not even going to be playable for because they're just taking them as the reprints of Alistair from Champion's Path.
Yeah. So to me, I feel like that's just a waste of resources to pay an artist to draw it.
And it's not even playable for more than, real D is going to be good until August.
Exactly. So that's August, a collector card for sure.
Yeah, it'll be retired. So you really are going to get this card for 3 months, put all this time into the artwork, the design, to get this card out there for it to be non-playable in 3 months. Well, why?
Like, I'm cool. Like, to me, it's not about like the card existing. I guess this goes back to pull rates, because now it just takes away a pull rate slot from something else now.
Yeah.
Because it's just like, well, that could have, because I guess it's considered the same rarity as like a V card. So I was like, well, I kind of still need a Zacian V trainer gallery, and it kind of lowered the chances of that because that card exists, which is unfortunate. But I think it's also because we just don't have a like a nice cadence of release sets between Pokemon Company and Pokemon Company International. And I don't know, as a longtime Magic player, it just seems weird to me that you have cards legal for tournament play that's not legal around the world at the same time when you have a world championships, right? So Japan gets to test and play with these cards like almost 2 months in advance.
Yep.
Right. So it's just like, to me, that concept is like, it makes sense maybe like in the early 2000s, but now, the economy is more of a world economy now, right? Like this can be all printed at the same time. Like literally when a card is spoiled in Japanese, it's translated by the internet in like 3 seconds. So it's like, you don't have to worry about translations anymore. The art's the same. You got the same card frame, and it's just like weird. So it's just like, I don't know why there are some cards legal and not legal. That's why we get weird cards like Mr. Rhyme in Astral Radiance. That's a single strike card. Like Battle Styles was like 4 sets ago, or more than 4 sets ago.
Yeah, but it that's a playing dynamic that they added, with Fusion Strike, Rapid Strike, Single Strike. So it makes sense. The history of Pokemon is that once they create a new dynamic, they typically run it for, a full year, typically, at least before they try and put in a new dynamic. But yeah, I was kind of actually surprised to see that, considering they threw in V-Star. So typically when they do V-Star dynamic now, they would start removing the Single Strike, Rapid Strike, and Fusion Strike dynamic, because now you've changed the way the game plays.
And but you know why they added it to Astral Radiance, right? Because it was a gym promo in Japan. Oh, so it's like, where else would they fit it in?
They had to stuff it once again. So
that's why we get weird things like Ice Cube in Brilliant Stars. Like, what is this random Fusion Strike Pokemon?
Yeah, it makes no sense.
So it's like that. That's why we get so big sets, because we have 2 sets smashed together. It's like, I feel like pick one. Either do like 4 sets a year, a little larger for the whole world, or I don't know how the American market would take it if we get the same cadence of Japanese sets, where it's like these smaller sets every 6 weeks. I don't know how marketing would handle that.
Well, I've always said that the same way. And I'm going to say one thing real quick before I continue. James, we are seeing the chat. We're just having a discussion between the two of us at the beginning here, and we will go back and go through the questions. So, yeah, we are seeing the chat. It's just we're going to go through our discussion here and then move on to the questions. So, but that's always been a question that I've had as a turn, because I've played, Pokemon tournaments. I go and actually am active in the tournament playing. And, one thing that always drives me crazy is even myself and some other people are buying Japanese, or we're pulling Japanese cards, because we can pinpoint exactly what we want and, really get those cards versus English. If I want Eevee Heroes, or if I want a specific, like the Rayquaza, I've got to dig through so many different cards to hopefully pull that Rayquaza, while in Japanese, I can just go start purchasing Jet Blue Sky, which is very specific to the dragons, and you could get your dragon cards that you're looking for by doing that.
Exactly.
And not have to dig through a mountain of Eevees in order to try and find that Rayquaza. Yes, in Japanese it is a little bit more difficult, because that everything that's an ultra rare to us is a secret rare to them. Yeah. So there aren't very many, so there's that dynamic of where it is touch and go there. So, you can pull a lot, but the point is that you could be very specific on a set versus trying to wade through mountains. Like Fusion Strike is the one that drives me crazy. Yeah. How much junk is just literally jammed into that set because it was coming to the end of the year. They were coming into Brilliant Stars where they were changing the dynamic, and they went, I always said it's a dumpster set. They literally took everything that was left over and went, here, let's just jam it in this set, and here you go, enjoy in English. We know all these Japanese promos. You had all the Japanese sets that were missing. Part of Chilling Reign was missing. Part of Evolving Skies was missing. Part of this set was missing, and they just took all of it and jammed it right into that Fusion Strike. Gave us this disastrously huge set and wanted us to just wade through this to get there.
Yeah, and right now that's kind of like the trainer gallery, right? It's like,
Yeah,
this is the Legends Arceus set, so why is there a B with Phalanx? Because we didn't get it. We don't have the VMAX Climax. It has to be spread in the separate set. So it's just like it does get weird. Like I can see pros and cons to the bigger set. Like if you're playing, right, you don't want to change your deck every 6 weeks, right? Like, you don't know if UV Max is going to be the best deck 6 weeks from now. So like, why am I going to spend $200 in? And that's me coming from the Magic the Gathering side, because I don't know if that cadence was because they just continued it from the WotC era all the way through, and that's just how WotC has done things every year since the beginning of cardboard time. So I don't know.
Yeah, and I don't understand. Part of it, I think, does come down to the fact that Pocket Monsters is the original. Mm-hmm. So they cater to them being first, and they've always catered to that Japanese market being first, and ever since the beginning. It's just like Pocket Monsters, and even now just continues on and gets those specifics. So yeah, I mean, that's just it when it comes down to it. Is I think that they're going to always cater to Japanese, but on the other hand, in English, it would be nice to be able to be more specific when you're trying to, rather than having 13 cards in a set, why not break that up into the original 2, break that down in half, where you could really specify for the gameplay, or the, if you are into a tournament play, that you could actually potentially be able to find your cards, really dwindling it down into the set you're looking for.
Yep. So. Yeah, I mean, it's worked for them so far, so it's not like we can English only complain,
outperformed,
right?
For the most part up until recently, really, the Japanese market. So yeah, now we're seeing a little bit of a switch on that, but still, it comes down to the fact that everything's secret rare in Japanese, so they do have their disadvantages too, where they have actually, for a small set, they have a ton of secret rares.
Yeah,
and usually it's like their secret rares are really difficult to pull too, because it's like one secret rare per their booster box.
Yeah, and it's only but how many packs is it? Like 20, 24? I can't remember.
I think it's 24. If it's a high class set, it's 10.
Yeah,
and I believe if it's a regular set, it's 20. I believe.
Yeah. To me, that's where I draw the line. I don't collect Japanese cards really. Yeah, but that's because I have a bad taste in my mouth with Japanese cards, but that's a story for another day.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, to me, if I'm going for playability, you can usually get Japanese. Like, we can get Japanese sooner, and they are playable in the English as long as you can understand it. That's always the biggest rule, is that you need to be able to read it to someone if they ask you what it means. You just can't know that it does something and just go with it. You got to be actually able to explain it in tournament play. So if someone calls you out, you got to be able to pretty much read Japanese on the spot, or at least look it up ahead of time so you know it. But there's nothing against someone grabbing Japanese cards and bringing them into a tournament. I mean, we do.
I think that's a whole untapped market in itself, for investing, playing, whatever.
Problems with Japanese is that it's just so, I want to say, difficult to really get good collectible or investable sets when it comes down to it. Because I've even bought some cards off of, Bai and stuff like that I was trying to do some flips on and do some things with. And it's like, you look at them on there, and then they get here and they're nowhere near what the picture quality is that they're showing you. And there's really no way to go back after that person, in Bai, Yahoo, and do much against it. Here at least you can sit there and give bad ratings, and you can, enough people do it, you can get them there. It doesn't stop anything.
Yeah, and then as far as investing with Bai, you kind of totally forget about the overhead costs sometimes.
Oh yeah,
so it's like because it's like, oh yeah, it's just stored in their warehouse, and then you're like, what? Okay, I'll wait like 30 days, and then you hit ship. You're like, $90 for shipping. Oh, I totally forgot about that. Because like I like collecting the sleeves from Japan too. So, but you can't do it every set, and I don't want to be like on a computer at Sunday at 4 p.m. hoping that I can order some, and then ship it to the proxy address. But it is what it is.
Yeah. So, do you want to try and go after some of these questions?
Sure. Let's go see.
James has got a couple of them here.
You all excited about tomorrow's Scarlet and Violet reveal? Oh yeah, I'm probably gonna wake up at 6 a.m.
Yeah, I was gonna say we're all gonna be up early to catch that one for sure.
Yeah, because if I'm being completely honest, Legends of Arceus really didn't do it for me. It actually made me want to play Sword and Shield again. Like I because I think what happened with Legends Arceus is like I like open world games. I mean that's like probably the genre I like the most. The problem, I like Pokemon video games because of the battle system, and I wasn't really a fan with the strong moves and agile moves. So that now I'm really excited for Scarlet and Violet because it's supposed to be a true open world game, and I think it's supposed to take in the old school battle systems because obviously that's what they use for VGC. So it's like they can't really go too much. And I'm also interested to see how many Pokemon they're adding because there's a real scaling problem with always adding new Pokemon. Like we always want new Pokemon. Like what cool new Pokemon are gonna make? But like these games come out every 3 years, and after every 2 generations, it's gonna be on a new platform. So that means all that 1,000 Pokemon now they're gonna have to create sprites for, and it's gonna take up data on the actual video game. And then it's like, okay, so do they just do region specific Pokemon? Because I mean, if you follow the video games, it was a big controversy when Sword and Shield released that not every Pokemon was available in the game from the get-go.
Yep.
Like it was a huge controversy. And look, because everybody's argument was like every Pokemon is somebody's favorite. Like I get that for Trubbish, but I don't get it for Garbodor. Like, sorry, Garbodor fans. Like, I like Trubbish. They didn't need to evolve. So it's like, I mean, it did have a cool gigantic, pile of sand. So I'm really curious because they already stated that they're not gonna have every Pokemon in Scarlet and Violet. So that's, to me, it's like there's gonna be a real scaling issue, and it's like how many Pokemon is too much at some point. How many are
gonna be forgotten? That's the
exactly right.
Like which ones do you sit there and kick out and say, I'm not doing this one anymore because there's just too many.
Yeah, and then you get like people complaints like, how come we don't get this Pokemon in this generation of cards? Well, it's because it wasn't in the games. And that's, I think they also want to like do that. So it's like, well, it doesn't show up in Scarlet and Violet, so we don't have to make a card of that for sure. Right. Like obviously there's gonna be evolutions. I do hope there's a new evolutions. People are saying Ghost and Dragon or Ghost and Dragon is hopefully, which is weird because I think they need to bring back fairy Pokemon to the TCG again. Because if they brought back Dragon, they have no weakness. So it kind of makes no sense right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I'm very excited for Scarlet and Violet. Luckily, there's YouTube. So if I don't get up at 6 a.m., I won't miss it.
Well, there's going to be, like I said, there's going to be a lot of videos starting tomorrow on what's released during the presentation for sure.
Yep.
When we see this release video, everybody's going to have their opinions. Everybody's going to be talking about this, and it's going to be a pretty hot topic. And it should be. I mean, for where we are in the Pokemon TCG, it's great that we're actually excited, and you're seeing people excited about this. Because when Sword and Shield came out, I don't remember this kind of excitement. People actually like really excited about it. I remember people like, oh yeah, the next set's coming. Even at tournament, my friends that were tournament players and stuff, even from then. It was just another rotation through, and this time I'm actually hearing people say, I'm excited to see what's going on. I really want to know. I
wonder how much of that is due to the boom or how much that is due to the success of the Switch.
I think it's probably more the number of new people.
Yeah.
You've got so many new people that are interested in it now, that they're actually wanting this information. And I guess my old school tendency
Okay, I
is
get
that
disconnected. Oh, yeah, go ahead. I thought
I
I got
said,
disconnected.
oh, but my old school tendency is that I'm interested in it. I think it's going to be a cool change or something going to be new, but I'm still having a hard time being like some people are just hyped, like, oh my god, you know, these like super excited people just ready to like
Yeah.
jump off a building for this stuff, and it's like there's a lot of questions I have before I'm going to sit here and
Yeah.
get super
But
excited.
that's
I want
because
to see.
we're well established in the
I
hobby,
was going to
right? Like
say,
I'm 35. Like I don't know how old you are, but it's just like we've literally lived through every introduction of
mhm.
every Pokemon. So it's not, so it's like there's people like Pokemon USA. It's like he doesn't really care for generation 3 and
No,
below, right? Because that's just not him. But for us,
I
we've
I
literally known
started.
every Pokemon.
I'm 36. I started
Mhm.
at Gen 1 right at release. I
Me
started
too.
tournament play. I went all the way through until 2006. So, I mean, I went all the way through, Neo, all the way into EX series through that era, and I really started to go out during Diamond and Pearl.
Mhm.
Um, and that's where I left because Pokemart. We were when I was on
Yeah, I saw.
Pokenomics.
Yeah,
We saw Pokenomics.
yeah,
He literally started the year I stopped. So it was
yeah.
just funny because it was just like a dead. We both went different directions at that point, and it was just funny. So it's like, yeah, you see this as this,
Mhm.
and this, and me, for example, I always say, I really don't have interest in level X's. For
That's true.
me, I just they're all right. I understand money wise, they're valuable, but to me, for nostalgia, they don't mean anything to me. Gold stars are sweet. I want gold stars. Neo cards. I mean, going all the way through the Neo series, all the way back to
Mhm.
base setters, where my nostalgia is, where I really would love to get back more of those cards that I had back in the day.
Yeah,
And I just, level X, yeah, they're level X's. I understand why people want them money monetarily wise, but for me, I would backlog everything older than that before I'd even look at level X's.
yeah. To me, it was hard because I came back in the X and Y era, like basically halfway through, a little before Evolutions came out. So to me, like, look, because to me, I stopped at base set 2. Like
Okay.
for whatever reason, like I didn't, when you're a kid, right? You always want new cards, and you're like, why are they reprinting new cards? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of a wasted opportunity now when you look back on it,
Oh yeah.
but like that's so I kind of stopped. Obviously, I transitioned to like Magic the Gathering, Yu-Gi-Oh, like the typical player evolution, and then you find out Yu-Gi-Oh sucks, and then you just go back to Pokemon and Magic all the time. But yeah, it's just like so to me, like looking back at like Gold Star and like level X's and all that stuff. It's weird to see that as the max rarity. And when you came back in and you see like, whoa, what's an EX card? Like this new
Yeah.
EX card that's like a full art. And it's just like, oh, break cards.
Whoa.
At the time I thought they were cool. Like looking back on it, nah, not so much. But I
I
mean, it was a nice attempt. I do want them to try horizontal cards again.
oh yeah,
Like
go
to
back to the
me,
break cards.
but not break. I don't like the
But
foiling and all that stuff. But like to me, I feel like because I want them to give more love to, like I said, I call them baby art. Like I want them to do a trainer gallery of just like a horizontal Texas cards of those Pokemon. That's just the art, like an art card, and they're like legal for play, but you just have to know what they do and stuff. But that's not my decision to
mm-hmm.
make.
So
Let's
and
see.
like I said, I always laugh because I came back in 2019, and the first set that I fully went into was Unbroken Bonds. And
Ah,
like you said, it was funny because I was opening packs, and fourth pack in, I pull a hollow, and I was just all excited, like, sweet, I got a hollow right away. Holy crap, this is awesome. And then, like you said, you start going more and more into it. You start doing more and more, and pretty soon you pull this full art card, and you're like, what is this?
yeah, it's like it's a
You
different
pull a
experience.
rainbow, and you're just like, I don't understand what's going on,
Yeah, what happened
and
to Dobby?
it took me a long time for a lot of them. They've grown on me a lot. I do like
Yeah,
the artwork, and I am liking alternate arts. And I said I think the biggest reason I like alternate arts now we've gone this direction is that it brings Pokemon into a real light. It's like Machamp. I
Mhm.
like the Machamp alternate art because we've seen him in the anime do that. How he's used as a workhorse, hauling carts, pulling carts, picking things up, moving things in town for people. So to put that into an artwork illustration was just to me was the perfect rendering to do with alternate arts. That's what alternate art should be if they continue to do them.
Yeah.
So moving next one here. You want to tackle the best sets of Sword and Shield?
Best sets in Sword and Shield. Uh so I'll start from what I think is the best set on paper and versus the best set experience.
Mm-hmm.
I think best set on paper is hands down Evolution Skies. I mean Evolving Skies. I don't think anybody's really gonna argue that. But like I said before, I think they went too hard and catered to the collectors. Like there's just way too many alt arts. Like I feel like maybe they should have moved some of the alt arts to, well, no, Fusion Strike was too big too. I don't know what they could have done. But there was just a lot of alternate arts. So to me, it's the best set for sure, at least in the Sword and Shield era. On paper, the best experience is, I think, is Brilliant Stars, because I think it had a really good mix of anchor Pokemon and a pull rate. Well, it's because the trainer gallery was new, but like the experience of opening it, which I think is very important in an investing sense, especially now when there's a lot of product available on in big box stores for shelves for like, I don't want to say casuals, but like casuals to pick up and buy for like themselves or their kids, right? Because this is how Pokemon grows, right? It doesn't grow if all the scalpers are like, buying everything off the shelves, right? If there's a nice quantity for for us to pick up and invest in, as well as people to like be curious and just grab it off the shelf. Like an ETB box doesn't have to be this big, right? Like it really doesn't. It's that big because it's marketing, right? Mm-hmm. So it's like, I'm glad that there's an excess amount on the shelves, because this is how Pokemon grows, right? Like they buy it for a kid's birthday, and then hopefully they pull a trainer gallery card, like, because it looks pretty and all that stuff. Like we might not like it, but somebody's gonna appreciate it, right? Like that's the whole adage in Magic, right? Like if you don't like a card, then it wasn't for you, right? Yep. Like they're also in mind creating cards for the experience of opening it, right? Whether you like to invest in it or not. So that I love it. So I think Brilliant Stars has the best experience. I wanted to say Astral Radiance, but I know it's 50-50 with experience with people. Because for me, I've calculated. I've opened 232 packs, right, so far. And I'm only missing 3 gold cards.
Wow.
I'm missing Samurott, Jubilife Village, and what's it, Temple of Sinnoh. But I can never pull an alternate art. Like that's just like not my thing, unless it's Brilliant Stars. For some reason, that Charizard loves me. But yeah, so that's why it goes back to the whole regional thing, right? Like, so when TCG player posts like 8,000 packs is a great sample size. Mm-hmm. But like now when we added and we talked about, well, they're only buying it from one distributor, and it's probably, I get it. I feel like I've been really lucky with Brilliant Stars and Astral Radiance, but the experience for Evolving Skies, God, man, it hurts to open it sometimes. Like I had a booster box sitting in behind me for like since January, because I knew if I opened it, I'd be very disappointed. And then I finally decided to open it like maybe 3-4 weeks ago, and I was really disappointed. so I feel like on paper it's the best set for sure. It just doesn't provide the experience I would like to open it, which is why I said I like to open the products to get a feel for it, because it's because in a nostalgia based hobby, or where that's what we're investing in, right? So I'm hoping I remember like, oh yeah, Evolving Skies was a or Brilliant Stars was a great feeling for me when I opened it. Hopefully it could have the same thing, and then 10 years down the road, when they're selling all their NFTs, they have money to buy cardboard again. So
yeah. And I'm just going to show you right now, talking about Astral Radiance. I've opened 110 packs. This is what I've gotten. That's how bad the pull rates are here, and I've gotten 7 hollows.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, best gold card I've gotten is Path of the Peak, which I did pull.
Yeah.
But realistically, it's like, that's where I was talking,
Mm-hmm.
So I contacted TCG Player. I messaged them on Instagram because I was curious, and actually I'm a seller there, so I put on a message to them.
Mm-hmm.
And I asked them, I said, how do they get the 8,000 sample packs?
Yeah.
I figured it'd be a good question because, like you said, they could be getting it all from one source, and of course their data is skewed because, as we know, from every experience we've seen now in the last few years, every area is different. Some areas get big pulls, some don't. Some are loaded with Charizard, some get Whimsicott. Like here, we got Arceuses, and for Brilliant Stars, and it could be really skew that number. And what they told me is that they don't actually get them from a distributor themselves. They purchase them from some of their higher ranking members. So their top sellers or their bigger stores, they purchase sample sizes from so many from each one of them that they know have.
So it is across. So it's probably more diverse than we think.
It's more diverse than I think. And I was actually kind of happy to hear that because I was thinking like you were, that they were getting them all from a distributor and selling them. And from what they told me, no, they purchase them from cross through, their top vendors. So if you could become one of their top sellers with huge amounts, TCG Player will actually do the TCG direct and purchase these boxes from you and then pull them in. So that's
really good to know.
Yeah, I mean, that was really good information they were actually willing to tell me that because they always post these numbers, and I guess, when you brought that up, I'm like, man, I've never really thought about that. They could just be going, their big distributor is dumping these things on them, and here you go. This is it, man. We're pulling them all from the same warehouse. But no, they actually do get them from, some of them might be coming from the same distributors, but they are cross-referenced to a point, which is good.
Breaking news, guys. This is why you follow Northwoods. Because you get the deep cuts that you probably wouldn't have got somewhere else. See, I didn't know that. So that really changes my perception of everything I said yesterday.
And one thing I always laugh is, some people say we may never get this information. And I always laugh how easy I get information just by asking. Literally message, just send them an email. And they actually got back to me like within an hour after I emailed them. So it's like they're not hiding information yet. Once again, there's only so much that they can put out on an advertisement before they just beat it all. How do you put that on that little flyer I put up on my screen that says, and we actually purchased these all from our high-end dealers, so each one of these boxes come from someplace else.
Yeah, that's actually really, really good to know. Okay.
It is, because you sit there and you watch Danny Phantom, and I know Danny Phantom gets his from like 2 or 3 different distributors, but they're all, he's
from 2 sources only. Right?
2 sources, yeah. He's getting them from 2 sources realistically, and they're both Midwest sources. So, regionally, he's still getting them from the same region. So his could be skewed, while theirs is actually pretty collected. And with them saying that actually really makes me scared for how hard the pull rates are on that set. If they're cross-referencing like that, boy, that's up. Well, like you said, some regions are getting good and some regions are not. That's just the way.
I'm glad I'm in the West Coast right now. Then I guess my pull rates have been pretty good. Although, I guess where I got my boxes matters too, which I do record. Actually, so I do a weird thing where I record the pull from the pack art just in case, and I like to pull the packs in a certain order just in case there's hot spots in the box. Just in case, like, I see an LGS open. A box for I know like packs 17 or 18 have a high chance. It doesn't really correlate because my sample size is so small, but it's like the little things that make whatever the hobby fun you try to do. Plus, it's just good to know.
Pokemart and I have talked, even in his live and on the side, how could we test the regional, the regionality of how sets are distributed. And I said, look at me. I've got Arceus, for example. I've pulled 4 rainbow Arceuses and 3 gold Arceuses in northern Wisconsin, buying them at my LGSs here. And I know they're all getting them from the same distributor. While him getting his product in, he's pulling all Whimsicots.
Yeah.
He hasn't pulled a Charizard or an Arceus, but he's pulled 5 Whimsicots. It's
Like
just
I legitimately don't think a Luminian alt art exists. I've never seen one in person.
Pokemart has one.
That's what I'm saying. But I've never
Yeah.
seen one in person. And I know a lot of people. I'm connected to the Bay Area Twitter, like restocks and
Mhm.
stuff. I've legit not seen one. I don't, and I have two Charizards. Like I believe
Mhm.
it doesn't exist because I can't pull it. I'm like
Yeah.
PokeRev, right? You open what 9,000 packs and didn't get one.
Yeah, he hasn't gotten a Luminion yet. Well,
His
I know the
daughter did
Charizard
though.
exists because I
Yeah.
actually just pulled that one in our box break on
Oh
Saturday.
yeah, I
I got
saw
to
it.
send out
Yeah.
to Felipe in the chat here. Won that one. He
Nice.
purchased that pack, which is awesome.
Yeah. All right. So looking at chat. So this one, have you seen the Mewtwo alt art for Pokemon Go?
I did, and then someone told me that that's the promo inside the ETB. But I
Is
was
it?
looking at the bottom; it doesn't say promo on the thing. So I think Mason told me that that was the promo. So
It might be now that I think about it, because there is a silver bordered one, but I didn't really zoom into the picture because I was like, whatever,
I
I'm gonna
did.
get
It
it
has a
anyway.
card number on it on the bottom. You know, it's really hard to read because
Yeah,
normally it has the black star for a promo, and it had an actual,
yeah,
you know, Pokemon Go, the Go on the bottom with this number.
yeah.
So I, I don't know if that's the alternate art. That'd be sweet, and I'm hoping
I think
it
it was a
is.
big miss though that it wasn't drawn for at night.
Yeah, I agree.
It just looks,
More menacing.
yeah.
It'd be
Radiant
more
Eevee, I
Mewtwo-ish
like,
in the
yeah,
dark.
yeah. So let's see, Radiant Eevee. Yeah, I think it looks cool. I think right now only Greninja is the cool looking Radiant card though.
Yeah.
Even with Blastoise being found in the wild somehow. I don't like the Radiant cards with just like a random splash screen in the back.
Yeah.
Like Radiant Greninja has a legitimate background drawn, so that's why I like it the most.
Yeah, because I think I got the Heat Ran one.
Yeah, it's just blue in the background, right?
Yeah, it's just a blue. You know, this is the.
Yeah.
Woohoo! Yeah, there's a cross pattern hollow underneath, reverse
But
hollow.
yeah, then
That's
you
what I
look at
felt.
Greninja and it's like awesome.
Yeah, yeah, I
Dragonite
agree.
V Star, yeah. Dragonite V Star that hasn't been previewed yet, so that's cool.
Yeah.
Astro Radiance is a go between like Fusion Strike. I can see that. That's a very.
What was the question?
I think he's saying Astro Radiance is kind of like a mid tier set. I don't disagree with that. That's just pretty spot on.
I said that. I mean, I feel that it's a good mid tier. It's going to end up right in Chilling Reign and Fusion Strike. I don't think it's going to go as low as, you know, Battle Styles or Rebels Clash. It's going to be a good mid tier between there.
Hopefully, buy a case for $83 a box.
Of what?
Of Astro Radiance. It's actually $83 a booster box right now.
Yeah, I saw that there was a couple sales at $83 a booster box. Like I said, my LGS, so I have a deal with my LGS that I take 4. As long as it's not a hype set and they're pre-sales. Yeah. So like Astro Radiance didn't sell much for pre-sales. It was actually pretty open. So I'm guaranteed for 4 cases that they'll sell me at their cost. I mean, $72 a box is what I pay for.
Yeah.
So for the first time ever, they actually contacted me and asked me if I would take more. They asked me if I would take 6 just to try and get them out of their inventory. So
it's a sealed case. I think it's worth it. At least you get the sealed case, right?
Well, the problem I have with that is that we're getting this big wave of Brilliant Stars coming here any time now. Do I want to take all my money and jam it into Astro Radiance, take the 2 extra cases, or go for the extra Brilliant Stars? Yeah. So that's where I'm kind of in a conundrum that I've been telling them I'll get back to them because I'm going to go pick them up on Friday and I'll have to make my decision. I'll have to look at the numbers. And
that's true. You know, I would pick Brilliant Stars.
I am too. I mean, that's I'm thinking Brilliant Stars with what I'm hearing from Pokemart and what I'm hearing from my friend who's in a distributor. Yeah. It sounds like it's just gonna get it's a battle style set. Yeah. It sounds like that's just getting blasted with product with both booster boxes. So
I mean, especially if you're thinking of investing in it, right? Like what's an extra $10, right? The extra $10 to $20. If it's going into Brilliant Stars, that's gonna get returned probably more easily than Astral Radiance for sure.
Well, I just sit there and think of, you know, people saying they're buying Chilling Reign and Battle Styles at the same time that Evolving Skies was for sale for, you know, it was $20 more at $99 a box. Well, but look at the set and look at how it's going to perform.
Yep.
Is Astral Radiance going to accelerate and catch up to Brilliant Stars in 6 months? Probably
Probably
not.
not.
I mean, Brilliant Stars is going to completely obliterate gains over Astral Radiance all day. Same with Evolving Skies. Evolving Skies went down to $100. To me, it was a no-brainer to buy 5 cases of it because it's going
Yeah,
to take off again with those evolutions inside there and the Rayquaza and Dragonite and all those fan-heavy Pokemon. They're going to be chased
exactly.
and they're going to be buying. So why not jump on it and get it when it's cheap and make my gains there and circle back around at the end of rotation for Chilling Reign, Battle Styles, and all the smaller ones.
Okay, James brought up the Pokemon buying Millennium. Like, what are your thoughts on them buying the print group?
Going to be interesting to see. I know that they're keeping the contracts for the TCGs that they were already printing, which I don't know how well that's going to maintain for them. And I have concerns and I have, I guess, happiness about this because of the happiness part about it is that I see this making it so Pokemon can get product out in a timely fashion as long as they can get the material. They have the printers now. They can put their product first. They can get their sets so we won't have these, really low prints where we have a huge acceleration at the beginning, that false boom on a product because there's a lack of product. So with them owning that, we may see less of that and more of a stabilized release every time.
Yeah.
But on the other hand is that if they lose all these other TCGs because they're putting their stuff in front of it and now they've got printers open, they're still a business. They have to somehow make money on this printing business. What's their alternative? Either A, they start losing money in the printing side of things, which doesn't make sense, or B, they just start printing more and more Pokemon product. So we might get to the point where, a lot of guys like call it the junk wax eras, where they're printing just so much crap just to print, just to get it out, because once it goes to the distributors, they've already made the unit price. So they don't care how much they print as long as the distributors don't quit taking it from them.
Yeah.
And I don't think they really have an option to take it or not. They just got to keep taking it and try and filtering it through. So that's the biggest thing that I could see being the downside or a huge glitch to them owning that printing company.
Yeah. So my biggest hope, because I don't think we'll really see anything for Sword and Shield era because they have a lot of contracts they have to commit to, and then they're already scheduling reprints for Evolving Skies and Brilliant Stars, and at some point they're doing 2 holiday sets a year. But my biggest hope is that them purchasing Millennium print group lowers the cost to produce cards so that the savings trickles down to us and the MSRP stays at $3.99, because it's been like that since 2011. And that's, I mean, it sounds like a lot, but it should have raised the price pretty much a long time ago. So I'm hoping that it, with the cost of materials and, gas and all that stuff, that it keeps the cost at $3.99 at least through the Scarlet Violet generation. So what is that, 2026? Because I follow Magic the Gathering a lot, and they already announced for Magic the Gathering that because of costs and all that stuff to produce the cards, everything across the board is raising 11%. So obviously it's a card game, same thing. You have to research it, you have to produce it, you have to print it, so I'm surprised. And we know that Pokemon hasn't announced it, so I'm hoping they bought the print group outright so that it would lower costs, and it wouldn't, because people think they already raise the prices, because at Walmart and Target it's $4.50, but they don't control that price.
No.
That's Excel and MJ Holdings, right? So if you ever wonder why the Target shelf is always messy, because Target employees actually don't own that section and they're not supposed to clean it. That's why the vendor comes and cleans it.
That's why Walmart's the exact same
Chad,
way.
that's kind of how it was. That's how it kind of works. So that's kind of how it was. How it kind of works. So that's why GameStop and Best Buy haven't raised their prices yet, because they're not MJ Holdings and XL. So just a little tidbit if you guys didn't know that yet.
Yeah, and that's
Yeah.
why I know at my local Walmart, there's an aisle in the toy section of Pokemon stuff, and that's actually taken care of by the store. So that's like your Sword and Shield booster boxes, your Darkness Ablaze, Vivid Voltage, all those kind of Shining Fates. Their Walmart exclusive stuff are all back there in ours, and that's Walmart's. They take care of that. They stock that. It comes in their normal toy stocks. The stuff up front, which is the baseball cards and all the Pokemon stuff, that's MJ Holding, and like you said, they put the pricing on that based on Walmart's contracting. So they contract the price with Walmart, and that's what they're contracted in for so many months for that. They clean it, they maintain it. They come twice a week to buy us to restock it, organize, and be sure everything's taken care of on it. So that is exactly what that is and what they're doing there. So yeah, like you said, it's not owned by Walmart. The shelving, that 12-foot section of shelving is not Walmart's. That is MJ Holdings property.
Favorite special sets in the last couple of years?
My favorite special sets in the last couple of years?
I guess holiday sets.
Holiday sets, well, Hidden Fates. I love Hidden Fates and Shining Fates. I think both of them are really great sets. I don't know if you count Celebrations as a set. Personally, I'm not a.
Yeah.
It's a celebration set, but it's not really a holiday set. But really, Champion's Path is, as a set, it's a flop.
Yeah.
You know, unless you're a Charizard hunter and you want to spend big money on a Charizard to try and pull one, then yeah, that's your set. But you know, if I'm gonna go Charizard hunting, I'd rather go for Shining Fates and Hidden Fates, because they have so many other Pokemon, so many other good things inside of that set that make it worth chasing with the Baby Shiny and the Shiny Vault than that one. So out of the holiday sets that I've personally been back in the hobby for, Hidden Fates and Shining Fates are probably the two that I enjoy the most. Champion's Path, not so hot, and Pokemon Go, we'll see here as a little bit more information gets released on that one.
For me, unfortunately, I can't speak too much about it, because I actually skipped all the Sun and Moon, because at the time I sold my DS, so I didn't even play Sun and Moon. So it's like, why am I gonna play the card game? So I stopped. I took a break, went back to Magic, and I was heavily into collecting Funko Pops at the time too. You can't really do multiple hobbies at once if you're in a lower budget, but you know. It was, to me, I say Celebration was a good holiday set because that's what brought me in, so it's biased. Let me see. Oh, did you see the news about the Sun and Moon sets are available at a distributor? I still think it's just extra old stock.
It's extra stock, and you know, a good person for that information is definitely Mason on that, because he's seen some stuff. And he'll tell you right now, and we've had that discussion, you darn well know that MJ Holding has got a ton of extra stock. You know, Excel's got a ton of extra stock, and they're holding on to it, not necessarily because they want to, but because people don't want that anymore. And sometimes it becomes valuable, and they can slowly trickle it out here and there and get rid of it. But you know, you only get a 12-foot shelf at Walmart, and only 4 feet of it or 3 feet of it is for Pokemon. You're not going to be putting out undesirable sets compared to the current and latest sets that are actually being used. They have to designate that spot to the newer sets. And I think what happens is that you see them find this stuff, so they're digging through, you know, that pallet gets pushed back forever. And then they pull them out and they go, okay, well, like the XY Evolutions and the, you know, Crimson Invasion ETBs that came out, they all of a sudden just randomly showed up. And it's like, yeah, people got them and they're like, yeah, these have been around. They've been moved around the warehouse probably for years, because the plastic was all, I actually got one of the Crimson Invasion ones, and the film was just all worn, like scratched and hazed. And it's like, no, this has been sitting around a long time.
For a while, yeah.
And it's just been moving around the warehouse until they finally just went, all right, just get it out. Just get it out of here. I'm tired of pouncing into this pallet so many times.
Exactly.
So like I said, it's not a reprint. It's just it's coming out, and even Mason said he knows one of the distributors there still has the cardboard Flashfire boxes packs. They
Mhm.
still have a pallet of those.
Yeah.
Just
I
the
guess the question is, do you think they will ever reprint an I guess standard legal set?
no.
I don't think
I
so either.
I don't think they'll ever go back once it's out of rotation. They might hit it if it's like Hidden Fates right at the end of rotation.
Mhm.
But
But that's holiday
historic,
set. I feel like that's like exceptions is
there are
fine.
exceptions, but even that was actually technically still in its lifespan. It was released on the
Hmm.
final month of its lifespan in rotation, technically.
Yeah.
So, personally, I have not seen them do a reprint out of rotation, and there's a simple reason why. There's only so many resources you can put to backdated sets,
Yeah.
and you're not having people as interested in those backdated sets. You're losing 50% of the people that would be interested in it because tournament players are gone. They're no
Yep.
longer looking at that set, and you're dealing with collectors only. And collectors aren't going to want to open mountains and mountains of booster boxes to try and.
Playability.
Yeah, sorry about that, guys. We broke up, but yeah, what's my worst Sword and
Yeah.
Shield
To me,
set?
it'd probably be Darkness Ablaze or Rebel Clash.
Rebels Clash has actually got some good playability to it.
It does have great playability, but I think it was a lot had to do with Boss's Orders, which
Correct.
they
And there's a couple
reprinted.
of trainers,
Yeah. But I feel
but
like you don't lose a lot now. Well, I guess you lose Marnie, but that's base set, right?
that's base set.
Yeah.
Marnie's base set she'll be gone here in August. Um, my least favorite set is Darkness Ablaze in general.
Yeah. I feel like there's
It's
nothing to get there except the Charizard.
there wasn't even really playability in it. I mean, it was
Yeah.
just really a Charizard chase in a whole set, and realistically, the whole set itself didn't have anything else of any value.
Yeah.
I mean, you could say the full art Houndoom was fairly, but I hated the techno colored background.
Yeah. It was just,
Trek Phantoms. Just sorry, I just saw him pop up.
yeah.
Guys, I spent
Hey,
5K ripping
if it
packs.
brings you joy,
Yeah,
it's a great
exactly.
investment.
It's a great investment for your happiness.
Yeah. Uh, I mean, you never know.
Hey, you could hit it big. You could hit a bunch of alternates.
Exactly.
He has the right distributor.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I can't open that many. Although I feel like I've opened 5K packs with Brilliant Stars and National Radiance, but yeah, nowhere near what what you call it TCG player can open.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I mean it's just
Top 5 alt art cards. I think my favorite, I don't know about top 5, but my favorite for sure is the Galarian Moltres, which is like right here. Yeah. I can't point. Yeah, right here. Charizard's cool, and I get why it's cool, but you're looking at Charizard's butt in that picture, and I'm like, yeah. But the Galarian Moltres is pretty cool. Other than that, my top 5 would probably be the Eevee promos. I really like them. I think they're way, to me personally, I like them better than like Moonbreon. Although the Umbreon Alt V is pretty nice, but I can't really think of top 5, but Galarian Moltres is for sure my favorite. I think it's just the coolest looking alt art to me.
personally, out of the ones that I've seen so far, Gengar eating the world is probably one of my favorite from Fusion Strike, just because I'm a
Yeah, that
Gengar
one's
fan.
cool because it's really like the video game one too.
To me, it's like Gengar eating Snorlax, because if you remember the Snorlax card from Sword Shield base set,
Yeah,
it's like him eating Snorlax is what I always picture. Their kind of their representation.
Hey, that makes sense.
It's kind of a wraparound on that part of it. But yeah, that's probably my favorite run, along with the. I still like the Charizard and Venusaur alternate art just because of the battle scene. To me, it's really reminiscent once again of the anime, of an actual battle scene out of the play. Once again, I like those ones when they're actually in real world, I guess, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So that's why I do enjoy that card. It's not so much as Charizard. It's just the actual battle scene itself is a really cool representation and all.
Yeah. my hope is they do an alternate art Venusaur with the opposite perspective, and
That's
I'm
what
sure everybody has.
I was hoping it would be in a promo pack or something that they would have
Yeah,
the reverse version of that.
yeah. I guess there's a Japanese promo EX card of Venusaur or Charizard where it has Venusaur with its vines wrapped around Charizard. So
Yes,
that's the closest, but
I'm trying to
we
remember
want
if that was
proper.
XY or if that was Sun and Moon. But yeah, there was one, an older one back then that did that.
Yeah, I don't know who did the art
Of the
Ryota Murayama. So he needs to do the Venusaur.
Yep, he needs
Whenever
to
it
do the
gets
Venusaur just so it's congruent.
Yeah.
Daniel down here at the bottom. Any suggestions for someone who is getting started? Been selling on TCG Player and eBay and have been pretty successful. Hesitant to start posting on YouTube. You want to go first on this one?
Yeah. I mean, I'm not a YouTuber. Like, I have like 50 subscribers, but I mean, I think you just need to find your niche in the hobby and then really like find and post what works for you. So for me, like, so like I was telling Northwoods over here, like the reason why I like to post openings, even though like I'm really in the hobby for investing, is that I want to feel the experience of opening it. So that way I feel more invested in investing in the Pokemon hobby. So that's why I post opening videos and whatnot. But it takes a lot of editing and all that stuff. So I just do Tuesdays and Thursdays. But like I said, just figure out what's comfortable for you. I mean, if you want to like pick your niche and be like, hey, this is just what I do selling on TCG Player and eBay. And like this is how I do my thing. And yeah, go for it. Like my reasoning to hit the record button is I'm opening it anyway. Like I might as well just share it with other people. Now, now, if you think you have deep cuts in investing and you feel like you want to share that to the world, yeah, you can do that too. You just need to find your niche, and it's just like what I've learned is if nobody's watching you, nobody's watching you if you're doing it anyway. So, for that small chance, if you can help like 2 or 3 people, just hit the record button.
Yeah, and my biggest suggestion is to someone is just take your time. Don't use credit cards. Don't spend without your outside your means. Especially nowadays, some people really, I always laugh when people are selling sets and they're like, TCG player value of this, I'll take 10% off. It's like that I'm not buying because there's no value in there for me at 10%. Just sit there and sell these cards on TCG Player because you need to realize on TCG Player I'm losing 13% right away from whatever you're telling me the price is. So you need to learn really where your economics sides of it is. That's going to be the hardest thing to really learn at the end of the day is how much am I going to lose here? How much am I going to lose in shipping? How much am I going to lose in taxes? How much am I going to lose on this part of it? And that's why I did that video with Evolving Skies. I thought it was a perfect example because people see this big number of Evolving Skies that on TCG Player they're selling for $180. And it's like you realize that if I was selling this on my website or like my Squares account, I'd be selling it at like 160. That realistically, that box is valued at about $160 because we're losing so much money off the top of it just to TCG Player alone. You're losing $22 to TCG Player on every booster box you sell. So, we're all compensating for that by selling it higher. And you need to really learn what those are, what those costs are, and really understand them before you really dive deep into it and how you can maybe mitigate those and go into it. Now, the YouTube side of things, even myself, I didn't join YouTube because I wanted to become a YouTube star. That wasn't my intention. The reason I even started going on YouTube and doing it was because back in 2021, I was seeing so many horrible advice when it came to investing and how you should be doing business in Pokemon. And it was just like, you can't do this and be successful, guys. You can't go out there today because realistically from the end of 2020 to 2021, I didn't buy anything for investing. Everything was to try and do quick flip, quick flip. I'm trying to make money at this point because the market's hot. If I can get a source, or it takes years sometimes to build a relationship with an LGS or a distributor or someone that can get lower pricing guaranteed. If you could get that, you could make those connections. So when it goes down to it too, work with LGSs, because unless you want to start spending money and become working with a distributor, which is something I never want to do. If you get in with a good LGS or a couple good LGSs and you get to know the owners and they see you there consistently and you have good knowledge and you're able to, biggest thing is like I said in the one video, give them something that you can offer them to help. So like Brilliant Stars, I didn't get any Brilliant Stars booster cases. Why? Because it was a hot selling set. They were going to sell that stock themselves. So there was no value in them giving me their cases of Brilliant Stars at a discounted price. But Astro Radiance, there's an opportunity where I could take some of their load, they can pay their bills sooner, and I might have enough places between box breaks, TCG Player, wherever, that I've got also friends that I know of that'll buy it from me, and I can turn and make $20, $10, $20 a booster box and move it out for them. So I'm giving them value while I'm getting value also, and that's the biggest thing that you have to present to an LGS or to a source, is it can't just be you get all the benefit and they get nothing. If you can do a give and take, learn the arts of dealing in give and take, and you can really be successful in a lot of places in the Pokemon TCG.
Okay, so I have a question. So in terms of investing, because you did the whole flipping and stuff, how do you value the effort you put into doing all that? Because so I always like to think of it, because people always associate the cost of the hobby or cost of investing just with the monetary value. But I always like to say there's a cost in quotation marks. So like space, effort, you got to protect the product. You do got to have to sell it yourself. But to me, I actually enjoy that process. Somebody who's been buying, selling, sneakers, magic cards, Funko Pops, just like, whatever hobby comes, because that's just what brings me joy. So I kind of like that process. Like, I'm not saying I can do it at like a big scale, but we're in the era where people like to have a side hustle, right? Like, that's just the mentality nowadays, right? Especially since eBay came about, right? So like, how do you, I guess, value your effort in this endeavor?
To me, this endeavor is more relaxing to me. Once again, monetarily, I try to invest my time. There is a time investment in everything, and it's just, to me, I've started now 2 businesses on my own, one of which I sold. And the other one still is my farm. I still do a lot with my farm, and of course that's kind of my liquidating investment. I also run our HVAC business, our family HVAC business now, so I've taken over that reins. So to me, everything, but I understand the costs associated with starting up too. Realistically, I'm only 2 years in, because I started mid 2019, going into my 3rd year now here shortly. That's really not enough time to really build a big business. And then, of course, that boom, in my opinion, that boom actually cost me time, because it disrupted things so much. I mean,
makes sense.
It really did cost me time during that than it actually helped. And it's everybody thinks it was real helpful. Yeah, I sold all my investment and my stock. My inventory was gone in October. But then what did I do for almost a year after that? You really sat there and hoped that you could pick something off. And I didn't have the relationships built that I do now. Even locally, I didn't have that stuff all established yet. So I didn't have those availabilities for those things. So, like I said, personally, I value my time, and it has to eventually see some fruits from my labor. If I don't start seeing my investments turning a decent enough profit to where I'm actually comfortable doing this, it just won't continue. I mean, there's just a certain point where I have to go, okay, well, if I spend this many hours on my business and HVAC or the farm, I would gain this much more income or this much more of an investment, then I need to go that direction. Currently, with the way the markets and the system works, I'm actually doing a little bit better than farming, but not as good as my HVAC business. So it's kind of fallen between there with the amount of effort that I put into, YouTube, selling, going through packaging, shipping, digging through, a lot of people, I should do a video on that one time, probably bore people to tears digging through bulk. Because I buy local people's bulk because they don't know what they're looking for, and I don't expect them to. They try and find the full arts and the heavy hitters, but is that there's a lot of playable cards inside of that bulk that sell for $3-5, and there's profitability in there. I can buy your bulk for 3 cents, sell it for 3 cents online for stuff I don't use, break even there, and pick out all the good stuff.
Yeah.
No, but it's
Deep
gotta
cuts,
be,
guys. Trekking shoes and gutsy pickaxe. Don't sell that as your bulk. I'm telling you now.
No.
Those are gonna be good playable cards, especially after the D set cards rotate.
Yeah, especially now I'm preparing to ship my D cards. Anything with the D designations I'll finally send them in for bulk. But I will be definitely watching TCG Player. If you guys are doing the bulk thing, watch TCG Player. Also, a great source is when tournament play resumes for regionals again next year. Watch Limitless TCG for the decks. See what cards that they're using and start finding those in your bulk and know how to locate. Organize your bulk.
Yeah. Also, Justin Basil, if you want a head start, like to see what decks could possibly come out, because they have good translations for the Japanese cards. So that's kind of where I said, if you understand Pokemon in general, TCG, anime, video games, I think you can be successful in investing in Pokemon TCG, because you kind of get like that sense of like when you need to buy in, when you need to buy out. But that's because you understand the hobby as a whole, or the intellectual property as a whole.
Yeah.
Let's see.
I'm just kind of catching up on the things.
Yeah.
Trax Phantom, I heard you have to pay taxes after selling more than 5K to the IRS. Technically, you have to pay taxes anytime you sell anything.
Yeah.
Especially now that all these sites are giving 1099s, it will no longer be 5K.
Yeah.
It'll be anytime you get a 1099.
Exactly.
Which is where my video tomorrow is going to be a good reference. But I would highly recommend anybody this year, it's still early enough, talk to a tax accountant if you're making money. If you're crossing any decent amount of income in this, talk to a tax accountant now. Ask them how you need to organize and have everything in place. That way you can deduct correctly. Because I see people in videos saying, yeah, you can, you're only paying, you bought it for $400 and you're selling it for $550. You only got to pay taxes on $150.
Yeah.
Not if you don't have a business license, number one. Number two, you need to be able to document and have the receipts correctly in order to pull that off, or you're paying taxes on $550.
Yep.
So don't play the games. Definitely talk to a tax accountant if you're crossing that James just said it. That $600 threshold sounds like if you cross that on anything, you're getting a 1099.
Oh, for sure.
And if you're crossing those thresholds, guys, get someone that knows taxes.
Yeah, it's a new world since the NFT era, for sure.
Yeah.
And the pandemic, especially when people were using their stipend checks to buy hobby stuff. Do you organize bulk by set, uncommon, common, supporter? To me, I just pull out playables and then common and uncommons together. I don't put support in bulk because you never know when it could be playable.
Yeah. So my bulk, typically commons and uncommons just get put in first. I pull all the rares and hollows and put them all in the back. Simply number one, if you do that, typically the uncommons and commons aren't going to become a playable. Maybe a Sobble or something like that will be, but you can usually tell, by the evolutionary line which one's going to do that. Then I pull all my trainers and supporters. They go on their own in a divided section. And that way, like you said, at any moment in time, someone could find a combination that one of them trainers all of a sudden or supporters becomes useful, and there'll be a mad dash for the thing on
Yep.
on one of the sites, and if you have it organized and can find it quickly, you notice it quickly, you can get in on that and really make some income on
Yep.
those areas.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, so you only do Pokemon so far? I can't remember.
Me?
Yeah.
I do a little dabbling in some other things. I'm kind of back and forth on MetaZoo. I do a little bit in Magic, not a lot. Just started getting back into it because I actually started tournament play when I was younger in Magic.
Yeah.
And then I kind of was doing Pokemon and Magic for quite a while through high school, and then college I went down to Pokemon, and then kind of phased out in 2006.
Yeah, I mean, this might be blasphemous, but Magic's still my number one. I even have a Magic tattoo on my.
I noticed that when I was actually.
Yeah. So that's the one thing I wish Pokemon had was better eternal formats. Yep. Because in Magic, bulk matters. Because you can have 25-cent cards turn to $15 overnight, yep. But that can't happen in Pokemon because there's max rarities of cards. Basically, that's the full art trainers, rainbow trainers, alt arts, and then there's just the commoner versions of the cards. But I feel like eternal play would help a lot. Are supporters just trainers? No, that it actually, there's items in stadium cards you should look out for too. Trunks.
So like this one, the Path to the Peak is a supporter card, or they actually call it a trainer card on this one, but yeah, typically these are supporter cards, and they would be where you could change your game format, or the Path to the Peak gives you certain abilities or rules that you can change in the game. But yeah, they're slightly different. I think he's probably got some item cards.
Yeah, well, I do Magic the Gathering too. Yep. So these are like two of my favorite cards because they're just, it's damnation and things. And if you guys didn't know, WotC cheated and reprinted Black Lotus, but in a different card game they own. It was Duel Masters. So I had to buy it. I bought like 4 of these. It's hoping that an investment it'll pan out. It's only in Japan. It's a promo. So to me, this is a hot take investment because Commander's really high, and they might start accepting proxies of a card they can never print. If you guys didn't know, in Magic the Gathering, there's something called a reserve list that Wizards of the Coast is not allowed to reprint from, and this is considered the strongest card in Magic. It's actually, I think, it's probably the most expensive trading card. No, that's probably still Charizard if it's graded, but I think raw, it's a pretty high valued card, right? Black Lotus.
I think so.
I haven't paid attention. There's just so little Black Lotus that I know I can never get one. I don't even pay attention to it anymore.
That's like me, a lot of WotC stuff. You just don't pay attention to it as much because you're nowhere near those scales.
Yeah.
So why do I care what a Charizard's doing? What first edition base that Charizard's doing from day to day?
Yeah.
I got so many other things that I can be looking at that's relevant. That why?
Exactly. Let me see. Trunks. So the card itself, the original, is from Magic the Gathering, but Wizards of the Coast also owns Duel Masters, right? Yeah. Duel Masters. So they cheated from the thing and reprinted it they reprinted Black Lotus, a card they couldn't reprint in a totally different thing. I don't know if they actually found that stolen Black Lotus tracks Phantom. Now that I think about it, I just stopped paying attention. The pandemic was a weird time.
Things just disappeared and shifted.
Yeah.
So. Oh. Yeah. Just looking through.
A good cost tracker for Magic, TCG Player.
Yeah.
MTG Goldfish is my go-to. for anything Magic the Gathering related. So if you watch the beginning of the video, my intro is inspired by Saffron Olive, because he still does a cold opener for everything he does, which is, I guess, not the meta for YouTube anymore. But that's just what I know in TCGs, and that's what I like to do. So I mean, you can see a lot of influences like Nostalgianomics. Like he got that from Alpha Investments. So
Yeah,
that's why he
Alfie
opens his video all the time.
Yep. Walks into the frame and the screen with some comment right off to start it off.
Yeah, folks. Yep.
Through a shelf.
So I was like, well, I'm picking Saffron Olive because he's the one who got me back into basically cardboard collecting again.
Well, I always laugh because Alpha Investments, I always get a kick out of Rudy on there because he talks about Pokemon so much now.
I know.
3 years ago, you walked away from Pokemon. You
exactly.
flat out said it was worthless. This is not going anywhere, and I'm done. And all of a sudden, it got popular, and you're like, "Pokemon is awesome! I love Pokemon."
Yeah, he's lucky he didn't sell all the stuff in his basement or his mother's basement.
Yeah, his mom's basement with all his Pokemon stuff. But I still remember that when I was getting into it, that he was nothing but dissing Pokemon, how it's just garbage. It's not going anywhere. I'm gonna get rid of all this crap. I'm holding it in my mom's basement, but as soon as I can, it's gone. And all of a sudden, Pokemon started to go up, and he was like, all of a sudden, back on the Pokemon bandwagon, just like that. And it's like, geez.
Yeah. But I mean, that's just the hobby, right? Like, I mean, because I've been watching him forever. I think I watched since his 7th video. I mean, because like I said, Magic is like my number one thing. So, you know, a lot of my Magic investments panned out. So
he's had some really good investment, ideas. If you actually, one thing I don't like about Rudy's video, it might be just me, is that sometimes he wanders in his zigzaggy path, and somehow you got to learn to follow the path straight, which is just if you're new, he can get really confusing really quickly what he's talking about if you're not.
Watching him is where I learned, where it's like, use all this stuff as supplementary information. You got to do your studying yourself.
Oh yeah.
Luckily, I know Magic, like the game, like pretty well, so I know like what would work and what would not work. So even if you think they're an expert, like Rudy puts himself to be, you still have to take everything with a grain of salt.
Right. Yeah. I say that for everybody, even myself.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes, a human brain gets stuck on a track and you may see things in a certain way that don't really exist. And have I made mistakes in the past? Absolutely. I think we've all made mistakes. The boom really helped my early mistakes. Because everything went through the roof. When I was in my learning stages and screwing up all the time, that boom was actually my saving grace to get out of a lot of that.
Do you have any regrets in the Pokemon investing? Because I have one that I always say. So, like I said, I came back in the X and Y era, right? So, in 2016, I went to Japan, and this is when the Mario Pikachu box came out. And before I went to Japan, I told myself, I'm buying 50 of them. I only bought 4 and I gave 2 away. So I'm like, really? So I always think about that. But like, you can't, I guess in an investing sense, what I've learned is there's always going to be something else down the road. So it's like, you can't ever predict this boom. Like I sold my 2 for 1,000. So, I mean, it's a win. You count any win. Because timing is different, right? Like I could have sat on it, but it is what it is. But that, to me, that's my biggest regret, even though it was still a success in its own right. It's just like I packed light to go to Japan so that I could come back with a lot of these products. And I just, sometimes laziness kicks in. That,
and you start double guessing yourself too. Is it really worth this value? Like the Scream Pikachu's was the one that I could think of that I had an opportunity to get a lot of those Scream Pikachus at the time when they came out,
Mhm.
and I took 5 of them, and I had 5 of them. I still have one because I've sold them since then, quite a few of them. But it was one of those things I could have probably gotten 100 of them for like $250, $300, because they were just all at that point they were nobody knew any value to it. I didn't know any value to them,
Exactly.
and I sat there and went, it's Pikachu. It's going to go up, but how long am I going to sit on this before it goes
Yeah.
up? Back then it wasn't like, oh yeah, next week this thing could double in price. It was, back when that came out, you're sitting there going, this could be years. I might be sitting on this $300 to $400 investment for
Exactly.
how many years, while I could be sitting here doing the short cycle stuff and selling stuff and making more. I could make that money faster doing this. And yeah, I think in investing, if you actually sat down and put pen to paper and you really, if you were that type of person, you would regret so many things.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, like I've even said several times in my own videos, I don't look back on it. I don't regret. I pick a number and I choose that point, and if I sell it at that, I'll put it for sale at that point, and if it keeps going, if I sell out of it at that point, I still made what I wanted to do. I hit my
Exactly.
goal. Set your goals, hit them. Once you hit them, move on. You could sit there and regret, everything under the sun. I mean, I can regret every team up box that I sold when I first got in. How many team up boxes I opened when I was first getting back into play with Unbroken Bonds. Team Up was still one of the better sets that you could use for tournament play. I didn't know that they'd be worth $850, and if I were to sit there and talk about how many of them I sold, bought for 75 and sold for 90, you'd sit there and cry if you would have known you'd hold them for 3 years, and I'd be sitting on $1,000 boxes.
Yeah.
But you don't know. You have no
we
ideas.
don't know.
Set your points, set your goals, and when you hit them, get out. And just kind of sit here like now and laugh about it, going, I could have been a millionaire if I was dumb and sat on these things forever.
Just take every little win.
Oh yeah, every win that you can get is a win if you're going in the right direction and you're staying in the black.
Yeah,
that's all you need to do.
There's a $6 million ultimate ETB collector set on eBay. Wonder why people have not bought it, especially. I don't know. Are there even enough ETBs to equal $6 million? I
was gonna say that.
Like, even if you had a case of each one, I don't think it's even close, right? Interesting. I'll probably take a look at it. Do you guys grade cards or just sell raw? Me specifically, Daniel, I don't know. There's just something to me about slabs that I feel take away from the actual visual appeal of the card. So I prefer raw. I mean, there's probably not as much gains and all that stuff, but me personally, I like to keep the cards raw.
This is my first grading submission in 2 years, and it's going to AGS. I am testing robo grading. I want to test it. These are only one of these cards I would actually sell. So most of them I have references, so it's like the Charizard V promo card from Champion's Path. I've got a PSA, I've got a CGC, and I have a Beckett version of it. So now I have a GMA version of it. I bought all of them because I did a video a long time ago where I was comparing all 3 of them and their grading qualities back when grading was the big talk. But I want to try AGS and have a comparable with that. See how it does. Otherwise, I got the Mimikyu watching TV inside of there, which is really good quality. My Shining Fates Charizard VMAX card inside of here. I did a Professor Oak's research just because why not? It's a good test. It's got a lot of holofoil and it's.
Oh, I'm trying. If every time I see that for $1, I'm buying it. Like snap buy.
And the last one I got is a Bolton V from Rebels Clash, but I'm sending it because it's got some weird crap on the back. Like if you put in a black light, you can see like marks, and I'm curious to see what AGS will grade that as.
Interesting.
So that's my curiosity send. I know it shouldn't grade high, and if it was going to PSA, it'd probably come back a 5. Just because the back is, it came right out of the pack, and right into the sleeve. And when I looked at it after I took it out of the sleeve, or when I looked at it, it's like, wow, this back is just.
Yeah.
I took a video of these before I sent them, so I'm sending them. I'm doing like a guess the grade, or like a,
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
compare it to PSA, what it would be, my thoughts are on PSA grading, and then do it at AGS and see how comparable it comes.
Mm-hmm.
And supposedly you're supposed to get an image report of it too. And if we get
that,
yeah. So I want to see if it's catching the things that I saw with the black light, because you can catch some of the whitening and maybe some of the marks. So I'm kind of curious to see.
Mm-hmm.
It's really just a test. That's all it is. So
that's pretty cool. I mean, I don't know if it's hard to argue if that robo grading won't be the future, because it just scales way better. And I can see it not being the future either. It's just, I don't know. It just, if PSA can never catch up, I feel like it has to go that way.
The problem I have with grading in general is the number one thing I have is centering.
Mm-hmm.
And you can catch it on CGC and Beckett. Of course, PSA doesn't do subgrading, so you can't catch it on them. Leonhardt's video was kind of a telltale where Beckett is.
Mm-hmm.
Centering is probably the number one, the only part of grading that is objective. You can measure centering in 2 seconds. Literally measure it and sit there and have a number for that. Whether it's in this range or this range or this range, you can give centering.
Yeah.
How can you send a card, break it out? You could say it got a worse grade because you nicked it, you damaged it on taking out of the pack. Handling it can cause damage, but the centering should never change.
Yep.
His centering would change a point and a half to 2 points. That's all subject. That's there's no subjectiveness to this. It is what it is, and you can't damage that. You can't alter that number. So that centering should always come back the same.
Yeah.
And it never does.
It never
CGC
does.
It doesn't. Beckett it doesn't. And I guarantee if you did it on PSA, it wouldn't come back the same either. So how accurate is someone looking at this card if they can't even accurately get the grading for centering the same every time?
So then that kind of begs the question is, what if you resubmit an AGS graded card? Do you think it would come exactly the same?
That's where I'm kind of curious. It should, technically,
it should,
as long
right?
as you don't damage it. Because when you handle it, of course, every time you handle it, there's a chance you put a mark or nick.
Mm-hmm.
But once again, centering should almost come back the same every single time. 100%.
Yeah.
And it would be curious to do that. Break it out, We've always talked about that. You should almost see these grading companies every 1,000. They send in a certain card and just sneak it in and see if it comes back with a congruent grade every single time, just as a baseline. But like I said, there's a lot of things. To me, I don't deal much with grade. I mean, I have, just like everybody, I've got slabs sitting around. I think it's inevitable when you're in this hobby.
I don't have slabs.
None?
I really don't. I have none.
Wow, you're pretty good, because I know inevitably in this hobby, it seems like you always end up with slabs hanging around. But a lot of these ones are just for myself. So, of course, I'm a big Flareon fan, so I've been grabbing these. Flareon, and Jacob is a Pikachu fan, so he's been getting. I've been grabbing Pikachus for him too. So it's just me grabbing things that I can display. Yeah, not really investment ideas. They're just fun.
Yeah, for me, it's really more just drawing the line. To me, it's just like, what? Because I like I said, I do sneakers. Well, I don't do Funko anymore, but I do Top Shot, NBA Top Shot. So it's just like, I gotta pick and choose. Mm-hmm. Because I'm the type of person that's like, if I get one, then it's gonna snowball for sure. So I had to really draw that line and be like, okay, no graded cards. That's just not my thing. And it's also one less thing to really, really deep dive into research, because it's just really hard to research every little thing, right? So
Well, that's the problem is that you can, like the saying goes, you can be a master of all trades, but or a jack of all trades, but a master of none.
Yeah.
And there is really truth to that. You can't be the best at everything, no matter how much you try. But if you really niche down and you work hard at one thing, you can become extremely good at it.
Yep.
And a lot of times it's even in Pokemon, you can't be good at every card. You can't be good at every section of Pokemon. If you really niche down into a certain area and really focus on it and learn everything you can about it, you can be successful in it. And you can become a resource to other people in it if you do that.
Yep. Exactly.
So, well, she's been about 2 hours, so
Yeah.
got any other things you want to talk about, or
No, I
chat's
think
been kind
that's
of quiet
pretty
now?
good. Yeah, I think it's pretty good.
So
Gonna go eat dinner after this.
go grab a bite to eat quick.
Yep.
Oh. Where are you? Are you here on West Coast?
Yeah, I'm in Bay Area.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh.
Right
It's
next
still
door
early.
to Channel Fireball. So that explains the whole why I love Magic the Gathering.
Yeah. Oh. All right. Well, like I said, thanks for joining me, Digi. I greatly appreciated. You know, you're in the comments all the time. You bring a great perspective in the
Yeah, and I'll
comments, and I
continue to be.
greatly appreciate that. I mean, I like the conversations that come out of it, and like I said, I thought it'd be just fun to have you guys, have you come on and talk to everybody here and introduce yourself, and hopefully we'll be seeing you around more on chats and maybe in some
Hopefully.
live
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
So, alrighty.
All
Well,
right.
thank